Hello there. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We are happy to have everyone here. Thank you for joining us for SMART-ify Your Lessons with the Smart Learning Suite Online, SLSO. My name is John Shoemaker. I'm from the Department of Educational Technology, and I'm here just as your MC and your host as I get started before I introduce our guests for this training. So thank you for joining us. We're happy to have you. We're hoping you have a great session, that we are going to share some new things with you and that will help you as you are moving into another year, starting the year with some virtual learning. So just some housekeeping things before we get started. We've been sharing at each session. As we're going along, we have some moderators in the chat. They are our little moderator minions. They have a little wrench next to their name. We also have some of our smart people from SMART in the chat box who will be helping and assisting with some of the things that our guests will be doing today. But we also have the EdTech team in the chat too to help. So please feel free to ask your questions. Use that chat box. We want to see you talking. So go over there and say hi, say who you are, say where you're from, what school you work at, because a lot of the people here are here to learn. And we can easily learn from one another. The more active our chat box is, the better these sessions end up really being, allowing us to have that communication with one another. It is being recorded. We're live right now, a little bit live. I'm about 20 seconds ahead of you guys, but we're live and it'll be recorded and posted right here on our YouTube channel whenever we're finished today. What we're also going to do is, if you'll look down below, there's a little thumbs up sign. You don't mind giving us a thumbs up and also hitting that red subscribe button. Right now we are at 2,920 subscribers, and our goal is to hit 3,000 subscribers before we hit back to school. So if you could help us by clicking thumbs up and subscribing to our channel, we would really appreciate that. We would love to have you guys subscribe to our channel, because then that will let you know when we go live and when we have a new video available for you. So thank you for that. I appreciate that with you guys. Another thing that my colleague John Long has started is we want to see where you are learning from. So we want to see your workshop selfie. And so your workshop selfie is basically, you take your camera on your phone, you turn around and you take a selfie of yourself with your computer and wherever you're learning from. And then what you do, once you take that workshop selfie, you go to Twitter and you post it, and make sure you use the hashtag ETPBCSummerPD, and then tag the EdTech team, which is at EdTechPBC. We love seeing your pictures. We love seeing where you're learning from. And we'll continue to showcase this when we do our live streams throughout the school year as well. This is not our only stream. We're going to be repeating the 6 sessions we did this week, the week of the actual preschool. And then once preschool is over and we're back in the school year, we're still going to be doing live streams throughout the year. So we just love seeing where you're learning from and what you're doing while you're learning. So we appreciate that a lot. And so with that, I'm going to just introduce my guests for now. They are actually from SMART, and some of you may know them. They've been with us before. And so I'm going to introduce Ryan Roach and Akia Shepard. They're going to be joining us today. So Ryan and Akia, I'll let you guys take it away. Introduce yourselves and take it away.
All right. Thank you very much, John. We have a great webinar in store for you today. SMART-ify Your Lessons with Smart Learning Suite Online. As John mentioned, we are SMART trainers. My name is Ryan Roach, and we are here to assist the teachers, specifically in Palm Beach, with professional development around the SMART solution. I also am here with my colleague, Akia Shepard.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited that you're joining me. As Ryan mentioned, we work for SMART, but we are dedicated to you all here in Palm Beach County. I'm excited to get started with the new school year and help you utilize this technology in impactful ways. And also, our contact information is going to be dropped in the chat, so please feel free to reach out to us by email and follow us on Twitter. We love to connect.
And as John mentioned earlier, we have two of our colleagues, other SMART training specialists, Laura Von Helmont and Hillary Batavia, that are in the chat answering your questions, and they'll also be dropping resources in there for you throughout our webinar today. All right, so our objective for today is to transform your pre-existing content into a fun and engaging lesson with the Smart Learning Suite online. Our agenda for today is we're going to do an overview of the Smart Learning Suite online. Okay, we're going to introduce the Smart Exchange. We'll enhance the Smart Exchange lesson and add some components to it, some ready-made activities, digital manipulatives, editing pages, handouts, and workspaces. And then we'll also explore delivery options that you have with the Smart Learning Suite online lessons. So just to recap, if you didn't catch our introduction to the Smart Learning Suite online webinar on Tuesday, let's just quickly recap. What is the Smart Learning Suite online? So it's an engaging lesson delivery tool for enhancing and extending learning. So it helps you get your students involved a little bit more in the learning and in the lesson, create content from scratch or use what you already have, and also add some practice opportunities with some games for your students or add an assessment to something that you already have. Again, you have multiple delivery options with the Smart Learning Suite online. So you could be in your classroom utilizing your Smart Panel with your kids on devices following along and contributing to the lesson. Again, we're in doing more virtual learning right now. So over Google Meet, we'll be showing you that component today. And then also you can post your Smart Learning Suite lessons straight into Google Classroom. So the Smart Exchange is an online repository. It is completely free of pre-created lessons that you could use in your classroom or share along with your colleagues. The benefits of that is they're all editable, so you can adjust them, and then they're all integrated with Google. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Akia Shepard, and she is going to kind of take you through the steps of enhancing a Smart Exchange lesson.
Thank you, Ryan. So as Ryan mentioned, we are here on the Smart Exchange, which is a website where you can find resources that are already made, and you can find lessons, activities, things that you can use for your classroom management. So there's a lot of things here, and there's a lot just displayed even on the home screen. And getting here, you just go to exchange.smarttech.com. If you know exactly what you're looking for, there's a search feature. And for our webinar today, I'm going to find us a science lesson on solids, liquids, and gases. Once you put in your search, you have options to filter your results, and you can see all of your options and a condensed version of details of the options. I'm going to go ahead and select our first option here. When you select an activity, you're able to see more details about it. Let's go ahead and refresh really quickly. All right, so once you select your activity, you have the option to preview each page. So I can use these arrows here to click through and see what the lesson includes to see if it's something that I'm interested in. Also, when you scroll down, you can see any more details that the creator entered to give you more information about the file. And you also have an option to share using social media. And my favorite is this option here where you save to SLS online. So I'm going to click Save to SLS online. And what this does is it takes that lesson that another teacher created in Smart Exchange and it adds it to my lesson repository in Smart Learning Suite Online. And it happens because we're signed in. If you weren't signed into your Smart Exchange, when you click Save to SLS Online, it's going to prompt you to go ahead and sign in so that it could go right into your account. So as you can see here, by the information on the screen, not only did it save into my account, it saved into my Google Drive. If you didn't get to catch our last webinar with the introduction, you would know that your Smart Learning Suite online files live in your Google Drive, and the same is true for when you take a lesson from Smart Exchange's saving right there in your drive. And later on today, we'll visit our drive and we'll see what that looks like. So we have our options to start the lesson, edit the lesson, or go to Google Drive. And I'm going to jump right in to editing this lesson. So this lesson is a copy. It's my own copy, so I can make changes and I can customize it to fit my lesson. The way that I want to customize this lesson today is I also want to make it fit to my lesson delivery style. I'm a big believer in flipped learning, and flipped learning is something that we can do in person as well as digitally. So my intention with this lesson is to give my students independent practice opportunities so that they can be introduced to the topic, they can get comfortable in practice, and then when we spend our time together, we're going to spend that time together going deeper into our understanding and actually applying what they've learned. So if we look through this lesson, we have a title slide. We got a slide about the objectives. It includes a YouTube video already. I have a fill in the blanks activity. If I want to check it out, I just click preview. And I can see the atoms in a blank are held tightly together. So this is telling our students the definitions. So after watching that YouTube video, they can use this activity to reinforce that. The atoms in a solid are held tightly together. So we can see this check mark here in the corner means that this answer is correct. What happens if we get it incorrect? The atoms in a blank are loosely held together. Let's do gas. And it bounces right out. So I can see that this activity is made to give the student instant feedback and to reinforce those definitions of the 3 states of matter. Not only can I preview the lesson that I got from Smart Exchange, I also could edit it. So if I wanted to change the option for it to check when prompted instead of instantly, I can do that. But I really like that it gives them that instant feedback at this time. So I'm just going to close out of this and check out what else is in this lesson. We have 2 pages here that have some directions for our student to complete an activity and something similar here. So I think this is a great foundation for what I want to accomplish for my students. So there's just a couple things that I want to change. To add to this lesson, to add a page, there's a plus sign on the bottom left-hand corner. And it brings up my dashboard where I'm given a lot of options. Instead of my students jumping right into the lesson and learning about the states of matter through a YouTube video, I'd like them to first think about what do they already know about the topic. I want to activate their prior knowledge. And one way that I could imagine doing that, the first thing that comes to mind is maybe doing a shout it out. And I'm going to click this preview option here, just in case you've never seen a shout it out, and you'll see how it works. I can pose a question and the students could then use their devices to send their responses up. And I could ask an inquiry question such as, what is your opinion? What do you think the difference is between water, ice, and steam? And have the students really think about it first before just being told what the states of matter are. But for this particular lesson, I mentioned that I want them to do this activity, the beginning portion, independently. And a shout it out is an activity that requires the teacher to start it. So I'm actually not going to use a shout it out today. Ryan, do you have any other ideas of how I could, introduce my lesson, activate their prior knowledge where it doesn't require the teacher?
Yeah, there's a couple ways. One that you could add a blank page for maybe a do now or a bell ringer to kind of prime your students. Also, we have some great ready-made activities under activating prior knowledge that you could use.
Awesome. I think I'm going to go with these ready-made activities just because they're so quick, but they're so powerful. So here, if I click Activating Prior Knowledge, I'm given a lot of options of already made pages that would activate my students' prior knowledge and get them ready for learning. Again, I'm not going to use a shout it out. I'm actually going to skip down here to the handouts because it's a great way for my students to be able to learn on their own, start this on their own. And I'm going to check out this entrance ticket preview. And in this activity, it's asked the students to explain what you know about the topic. And since it's a handout, it includes tools that are already in there that allows them to answer the question. So they can use text to answer the question, they can use pictures, they can draw. So I really like this activity. To add it to my lesson, I'm going to select activity. And now it's a page within my lesson. I can customize this a little by changing the title. So I want to add the topic here so that the students, when they see it, they immediately are reminded that the topic is solids, liquids, and gases. And when we preview it, again, we see that they have the option to explain what they know about the topic. So we have our video where they're going to learn. We have our fill in the blank activity where they're going to practice and just check for their understanding of what they learned in the video. And then we have this assignment here. The direction says, use the infinitely cloned atoms to represent how atoms move in each state of matter. So it seems like these objects right here are infinite cloners. And what that means is every time I drag from here, I get another copy. And infinite cloning is a great way to build digital manipulatives. Digital manipulatives are so powerful because they give access to all of your students. You don't have to worry about, if you don't have enough for a group, or in our instance right now where our students aren't right here in front of us. If you build digital manipulatives, everyone has access to get hands-on and show their learning and their understanding. And this came into us already infinite cloner because we got it from Smart Exchange. But I want to show you how to do that yourself in the case that you want to make your own digital manipulatives. So with any object that you bring into here, image, words, you have edit options. I'm going to go ahead and undo this so that you can see your edit options. So if you click your object, there's an arrow. And in this drop down, you have all your different options to edit. And infinite cloner is what changes this to a digital manipulative. Ryan, how have you seen teachers using this feature?
I've seen a couple of different ways, letter and word tiles, counting money, scientific models as well.
Yes. So it's great for all grade levels, all subjects. Yeah. So over here on the bottom of your screen, there's one more step that we need to do to get this ready for our students to do it independently. It's telling us that this page right now is only view only. The students will only be able to look at it. They can't interact with it yet. So to make it interactive, I'm going to go to my magic wand and I'm going to convert this to an activity. When I select convert to activity, I have two options. And I'm going to select the option that's called a handout because I want the students to do this on their own. When I select the handout, I'm given the option to edit my title here. And also to preview. So in this preview, we can see that the students can use this to model the atoms in the different states of matter. So my solids are closely packed. My liquids, they have a little bit of fluidity. They can move around. But my gases are all over the place. So the students will use their tools that they're given for handouts. And in this case, the selector is the tool that they're using. In the preview, we're not seeing all of our tools yet, but when we launch this lesson, you'll see all the different options that students have. So I think at this point of the lesson, the students have a good grip and great background information to feel comfortable and confident that they know the different states of matter, they've practiced, they've done some creation with it. So I would love for the students to pause here. But also, before that, handouts. We talked about how infinite cloners could be used everywhere. Ryan, do you have any ideas of how you've seen handouts in other places?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of places where handouts can come in handy, especially Newsella is a big resource in Palm Beach. So you can, as you said, use those tools for students to go through the reading portion and also the student question pages to complete the Newsella articles. I know text coding is very big for students to maybe read a passage, so they could do that as well. Also, teachers can import the math PDF worksheets for students to solve their problems and show their work.
Yes, those are all great ways to use handouts. And again, we are starting with a lesson from Smart Exchange, but when you're building your lessons from scratch, you go to your Google Drive, you go to New, More, Smart Learning Suite, and you're able to bring in your own files. So if you wanted to bring in a Newsella article, if you wanted to bring in a math worksheet, you also could turn those pages into handouts. So everything you're seeing today applies with your own materials, with things from Smart Exchange, or anything if you wanted to even create from here from scratch. So since this part of the portion of our lesson is done, the independent portion, we're going to add some instructions so that the students know I want them to stop. To do that, I'm going to click my plus sign again, and I'm going to just add a new page. And here, there's already a text box here. If I click it twice, it allows me to edit it, and I can give them some directions. We will complete the rest of this lesson during our Google Meet. I can click out of it, and I select it and move it around. This text box I don't need, so again, to edit objects, we just click our arrow. There's a delete option. And I don't know about you, but my students definitely would need a visual to tell them to stop. So I'd like to add a photo as well. Up top, editing my pages, I can use this icon here to add images. So I can select the image that I have on my computer. I can also use this icon to add web links and hyperlinks onto my page. And I can use this tool right here just to grab an image from the web. So to get my stop sign, that's what I'm going to do. I like this photo here. And now that I have my page all set up, one other option here in your drop-down menu is to lock. So this makes it so that those objects are now a part of the page or a part of the background. They stick, they won't move around. So after my students do their home learning or their pre-work for the lesson, we're going to come together and we could do this page as a class. Currently, this page says drag the items into the correct state of matter. And I have these 3 examples here. So it's like a sorting activity. Since we're going to spend our time together really getting into this, I want us to spend a lot of time doing this, and I want my students to create. I want them to tell me their own examples. So I'm going to modify this by deleting these instructions and putting in some of my own. So I'm going to unlock. I'm going to remove this. And I already have some instructions written for time's sake, but if you're using something like a Word doc or you're pulling your information from somewhere else, it's really easy to copy and paste. I wrote my notes in this sticky note.
Saves a lot of time.
Yeah, no reason to recreate the wheel. And here we talked about these 2 icons. This is for selecting and moving. This is for adding multimedia. The A icon allows me to add a text box. So I can just paste that text right in there. I'm going to highlight it and change the text size so it's a little larger. And again, this is a piece that I don't want to move around. So I'm going to lock this. And there you have it. Now we have multiple tasks that we're going to do with our time together as a class. And the last step, again, this page is currently view only. And to make it an activity for our students, we're going to click our magic wand, and we're going to change this into a collaborative workspace. And let's change this title. States Matter, Examples, Workspace. So that completes our lesson creation. We took something from Smart Exchange, we made it fit our lesson style, our lesson delivery preference, and now you can change the title if you would like to, and select Finish Editing. When you do that, it automatically launches you into presentation mode, and that's convenient sometimes. But at this time, I'm actually not presenting this lesson yet. Let's recap into my goals. I want my students to do this on their own. I want the students to be able to do this before we meet. I want to spend the time together that I meet with my students live, really applying our learning and going deeper. So to share this lesson with the students so that they can do it at their own pace, they can do it at their own time, I'm going to put it on Google Classroom. And for that, I don't need this tab open, so I'm going to close it. And I'm just going to go over to my Google Classroom, which I already have open in this tab here. And I'm going to create an assignment. So I'm going to click Create, Assignment, and I'm going to enter in any of the information I typically would when I create an assignment in Google Classroom. I'm going to put my title, give my students some instructions, and attaching that lesson is super simple because it's saved into our Google Drive. So I just select Add, Google Drive, and then from here, I select my Smart Learning Suite Online lesson. Since we just finished this, it's right here in Recents. If you can't find your lesson, I'm going to give you some tips in a moment of how to find your lessons in Google Drive. But once you locate your lesson, you select it and you press Insert. And it automatically attaches with the setting that says students can view file. You do not need to change this. For a Smart Learning Suite Online file, leave it as is default because the file knows it's smart enough to automatically make a copy for each student. So that's going to happen. You would do any changes that you're accustomed to here, and then you would select Assign.
Now, Akia, usually when you put things in Google Classroom, sometimes kids have to kind of go through different parts to maybe they have to click on the YouTube video, then they may have to go to the Google Doc, but everything that they have is within that lesson there.
Yes.
So they don't have to click around. The links are there. They can go and watch the video. They can complete the handout, the workspace, whatever you converted to, those things. So that's a great way of keeping everything there for this teacher progress and see the progression of the students as you go through, and put some accountability on the students as well to complete their work.
And it's a great way or a great reason even to use Smart Learning Suite Online, just the ability to bring everything all into one file so you can have all of your components there. Even our lesson, though we're doing it two ways, they're starting off in Google Classroom to build their own knowledge and confidence, and then we're going to go into our Google Meet. I have both of those sections in that one presentation, and we're about to see the benefits of that as well. So let's imagine our students have gone to Google Classroom, they've clicked their assignment, they've opened their lesson, and they've completed their pre-work. And now it's time for us to meet, whether that's later on in the day, later on in the week, and we're going to go to our Google Drive. I'm sorry, we're going to go to our Google Meet. But let me make sure that everyone knows the directions of how do you open your SLSO lesson and share it in a Google Meet. So that first step is to go to your Drive. And from here, you're going to locate your file. You can use the search feature in Google Drive to look up the title if you remember it. So solids, liquids, gases, we see it's coming up right here. Another tip, because I know sometimes we do not always remember our titles, even though we wrote them, you can just type .sls and it'll bring up all of your Smart Learning Suite Online files. You can see that it's a Smart Learning Suite Online file because of this icon here. And another option is you get a folder in your Google Drive, right here, automatic folder that says Smart Learning Suite. And when you bring your files in from Smart Exchange, it automatically saves it into that folder. So I'm going into that folder, and to open it up, I can click it and choose Open with Smart Learning Suite. I like to do this before I even start my meet with my students, just to save time so that I'm prepared. You can even go as far as to go to the page that you want to start on. So maybe I want to go to the stop sign. And now that I have my lesson up and I'm ready, I can go to my Google Meet and start it for my class. Now, for the sake of this webinar, we're going to pretend that our YouTube Live is the Google Meet. But so let's imagine I've started the meet, brought my students in. My next step is I like to then share my screen on Google Meet so I can provide students with visual instructions. And I'm going to instruct them to join my Smart Learning Suite online class using my class code. And I would actually love it if you all today would pretend to be my students. So you've done your homework, you already know a little bit about the states of matter, and now we're going to have some fun and we're going to use that information and apply it. And I'd love for you to join my class. I'm going to present my class code. And let me back up. The way I did that to get your class code presented is in your lesson, you click the icon here with the people. Then you click your arrow, and then the directions are shown here. So I like to give students those visual directions. If you're able to join, please join. Just open a new tab, go to hellosmart.com. You're going to join as a guest, and then enter the class code 449866.
Now, as students are joining in, this is a really good time to have them to really check in with them, maybe have them come off mute and check in if they have any questions on the assignment that you posted to Google Classroom. Maybe you can actually go back in the lesson as well and kind of check their examples. Maybe they want to present something to you, so you have options to kind of help them as you get started and move on to the next section in the lesson.
Yes. Again, anyone that wants to join, the information is also in the chat. So you can find the website, hellosmart.com there, as well as the class code. And if you're not comfortable going back and forth from tabs, you can also stay with me here on the YouTube tab and you'll see the presentation as well. And Ryan, yes, you have to be mindful of that transition. You gave your students some assignments to do to learn some background information on your topic. And this is a great time now to come in and check with them and see if they had any questions from their learning, if they're excited about anything, how their day's going. And once everyone's ready, you'll know because you can see the amount of students that are connected to your class. And then you can start your presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and press Got It. And I'm going to start with you all. So something that's really awesome if you're in my class, you're going to notice as I change my slides, your slide is changing. Because when you put in that class code, you are now in sync with what I'm presenting. So if I was to write on this screen, you would see that. We've completed our work. Something else really awesome, and a reason why I put everything all in one lesson, is if a student, let's say, had a question about the handout they completed, I can go right to that page and everyone's brought to this page along with me. And I can click student progress. And there's an option on the bottom right-hand corner that says teacher handout that I love. with the teacher handout, it's the exact same copy that the students are getting, and I could demonstrate and go over the answers for them if they want it. Or maybe a student really was confident and they wanted to showcase their work. So maybe they said, hey, I want to help my peer, show them my worksheet and I'll explain it. I could easily also click on the student's work and I would see their work and they'll be able to come off mute and explain their work. So there's a lot of awesome ways to use this. And again, to Ryan's point, putting everything all in one lesson has a lot of power. Now, I'm going to skip us to what we're here for, and that is our workspace. So if I can have everyone take a moment and return back to the YouTube tab, I want to make sure that you all get to see how as a teacher you set up a workspace, and then I'll give you some time to work in there as a student. All right, so hopefully you're all here with me now. We're on our workspace page, and I'm going to select Setup. When I set up my workspace, I'm given options to how many teams I would like. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and go with 9. And it's going to split you all up into groups. And it did it automatically and quickly, so I don't have to put a lot of thought into that. But if I wanted to swap the groups around or swap students around, I could do that. And I'm going to press Start, but I still want you to stay here on YouTube. I want to show you something. Once the teacher press starts for the student, it'll tell the student what team they're in, who their teammates are. I also like to click into one of the teams and again, just demonstrate how to use the tools for the students. And for any of you all here today that aren't familiar with these tools, I just want to demonstrate each one. So the selector allows you to move around, moving objects. Your pen tool here, you have a pen and a highlighter, and you can change the color and the thickness. Allows you to write or draw on the screen. You have an eraser, which allows you to erase any of those ink marks. You have your multimedia tool here where you can add web links, you can add images from your computer. And when we think of images from our computer, everyone just thinks about, things that you've saved there, maybe from the internet. But you also can have students draw on pen and paper and ask them to just take a picture of that and save that on their computer, and they can bring in pictures of their own drawings. They can add web links, and they can also search the web for images. And this is a Bing safe search. So you don't have to worry about anything crazy coming up. And to bring in their image, they just select it twice, and then there'll be an image on the screen. And last but not least, we have our text box. So to add text to the screen, you select the text box and you start writing. And you select out of the text box and your text will stick there. So I'm going to allow you guys to work, but something else that's really important is we've seen that as I change the slide, your slide changes currently. But what if students want to go back and maybe they want to look at their handout as a reference, or they want to use that fill in the blank to be reminded of the definitions, or they need to see the video? I want to give my students that autonomy to go back and check out the other parts of the lesson. And to do that, in the corner of my people icon, I can change my lesson pacing from teacher to student and allow them to be at their own pace. So if you guys want to go back to your SLSO tab and work in that workspace a little bit and collaborate with each other, that'd be awesome. So my favorite part about doing a workspace in a live setting, so this could be in the classroom, this could be in a Google Meet, is that you can also talk your students through what it means to collaborate and the methods that they're going to use in their groups. So for the activity that we have, there's 4 different tasks. So maybe the students decide that they're going to put their name next to the task that they're going to complete. And then you also put your name next to another classmate's name to say that you're going to be their feedback buddy. or maybe even everyone picks a different state of matter. So just being in this live setting and working collaboratively, you still get to talk your students through how to work through those relationships and how to complete their work together. Ryan, what's one of your favorite things about doing Workspaces live?
I really like that, especially sometimes when you assign students groups. You kind of want to make sure that everyone's doing what they need to do, so you can kind of check in live with them and kind of leave them feedback as they're going through and completing the workspace. So I really enjoy that.
Yes. I'm actually going to demo what Ryan is saying. If you want to see what it looks like from the teacher view, you can join me in the YouTube tab. If you're having a lot of fun doing your workspace, you can stay there. You'll see it in the recording. But on my teacher screen, I can see each team. I have a dashboard here that shows each team. And if I just click into it, I can see their work live. I can toggle through all of the teams by clicking the arrows and just do a quick look through to see what's happening currently. Are they on task? How far along are they? But I don't have to just look and peek in. I also can leave them messages as well, and they can leave me messages. So I can use those same tools and I can leave messages here. Do you have a question? I could also leave feedback. Maybe a group is done. I want to tell them they've done a great job. Something else that's awesome is if you click anywhere in your workspace or you're looking at my screen and you look at the different objects on the screen, when you click it, we have a drop down arrow and it tells us who added that. So we can see that everyone's contributing, who's on task, who's writing the message. So I really love this attribution feature right here. And one of my last favorite things about doing workspaces together is students can explain their work. I can have a student, let's say team 4 wants to talk about how they've completed their work. They want to talk about the examples they use. An activity like this where the students are creating, everyone's group is going to be different. They can display their work and they don't have to share their screen. They don't have to screencast to the board or anything like that. In the teacher dashboard, I can just select their group. Those students could come off of mute and they could present or explain their learning. You guys have done a great job here. Let's see what solids, liquids we have.
Putting
Nice.
a lot of work.
Yes. All right. So we've had an awesome lesson. The students had the opportunity to, build their knowledge on their own first, get a foundation. We spent our time together wisely. The students could watch a YouTube video on their own. They could, learn those definitions on their own. What we're spending our time together doing is applying that, maybe catching those misconceptions, being able to go further into Bloom's taxonomy. And that's how I like to spend my time, where I'm there to support the students. And there's one other component that I think that we can use to end off this lesson. I'd like to just check in with the students and have them reflect on how comfortable and confident they're feeling with our topic of solids, liquids, and gases. And I can do that really quickly on the fly by just going to edit the lesson really quick. So if you want to see me edit this lesson, you can come back to the YouTube tab. And to edit, I'm going to go to the top left-hand corner. And there's a menu, 3 lines, and it gives me option to edit the lesson. Once I click edit lesson, the students that are in my class are going to get a message that, hey, hold on, your teacher isn't presenting the lesson yet. And that's because putting in our class code syncs them to our live interactions. So the quick component that I'm going to add here to allow my students to reflect is a ready-made option, and it's under questioning and reflection. And since we are live, I could use a shout it out. I could use these responses. I think I'm going to use this response. This is how do you feel about this topic? And I can just press finish editing and it launches right back into presentation mode. So now the students If I put it in teacher pacing, I can bring them to the slide that I want them to complete. And I can ask them, all right, how are you feeling about this topic before we go? So if you're still in my class and you have that Smart Learning Suite Online lesson, open, I'm going to let you complete this. So I'm going to start my poll. And on your screen now, you should have a question. How do you feel about this topic? And you have 3 answer choices that show you with emojis. I'm totally getting this. I mostly understand it, but I have some questions. Or I'm still kind of confused. So you can select the option that best fits how you're feeling about the topic. And then when you're finished, you have, as a student, a button up top that allows you to submit. As you guys are completing your poll, I'm going to tell you about some of the teacher features that are seen on the screen. You can display the question without displaying everyone's answers. You also get a progression wheel, so you don't have to just sit here trying to figure out, hey, is everyone finished yet? How long is it taking them? I can see right now that 69% of my students have answered this question. So it gives me an average for the whole class. And if I wanted to check on my students individually in the gear, I can also do that. For time's sake today, I'm going to go ahead and end our response. And if you want to come over, you'll see that once I end it, it shows my students' results here. So it's in a bar graph. I can see that most of my students, they're getting this. Half of my students, a little less, they still have some questions, and some of my students are really confused. And what I love about choosing that response as my way to close out my lesson is it gives me data. On the bottom of the screen, it says export results, and it'll let me know individually what each student chose. So I can let my students know that, hey, if you're not feeling confident in this lesson and you're still confused, don't worry. After this Google Meet, we can have a chat and I'll reach out to you individually. So that closes our Smart Learning Suite Online lesson. I hope you get to see how engaging and interactive it can be and how you can use it in different methods. I'm going to go ahead and close this lesson. If you want to join us back on YouTube, you no longer need this tab open. And we're going to take it back to Ryan's presentation.
All right, so as we saw today in Akia's presentation, she did more of a flipped learning model where she had the students start out in Google Classroom and then they came together in a Google Meet. But with the Smart Learning Suite online lessons, you have the flexibility to start where you want. So I could switch this around. Instead of starting in Google Classroom, I can start out in a Google Meet with my students to get them started. And then I could also bring it over to Google Classroom to finish up for my students. So you have the flexibility and more of a blended learning environment for my students. So you have that flexibility there for you for where you start. So again, the ability to have some accountability for those students in Google Classroom. Again, the accessibility that everything is in one file for them, and it's easy to kind of track their progression as you're going through and checking on the students, leaving feedback for them if needed.
Yes. And again, I started from a Smart Exchange lesson, but you could have done this with any of the content that you already have. You can choose how you're going to deliver this, and it doesn't have to be just one method. You can combine your different methods, whether in person or virtual, to have a blended learning environment or a flipped learning environment, which both can be very powerful.
Yes, thank you, Akia. All right, so we do have some great resources for you, smart.palmbeachschools.org. There's some great training information on there, also our contact information. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more, dive a little bit deeper into the Smart Learning Suite online, there's some great resources in there. Also, the Smart Learning Suite online teacher guide. There's some really great how-tos and some instructional ideas on how to use some of the tools like the workspaces and handouts and things like that. Also, some video tutorials for you. Please join us. We are going to do the introduction to the Smart Learning Suite online again on August 25th, if you missed it this past Tuesday. And then we'll also be doing the SMART-ify Your Lessons with the Learning Suite back on August 27th. So please join us. Please tell your friends and your colleagues as well about these upcoming webinars. All right, and back to you, John. Any questions?
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Kia and Ryan, I really appreciate everything you've shared today. There has been a lot of conversation in the chat, a lot of questions. I think most of the questions were answered by Laura and Hillary. One thing I want to let people understand is this is not the basics course. Basically, this is kind of like the next step after you kind of learn the basics of the Smart Suite online. Obviously, we're sorry if that was not clear, but we do have, as Ryan shared, the intro that will happen again. It's also recorded and in ELM as well. If you need to learn the bare bones, that you've never used this software before at all. So please don't hesitate to look at that course and check it out, because it will help you understand a lot more if you've never seen SLSO with what Ryan and Akia shared. And then just come back for this course again live once you have the basics again, and you'll really have a handle on what's going on. So Akia and Ryan, thank you so much. I'll bring you guys back at the end to say goodbye before we do a little bit of closing out. So hold on. All right. So again, everyone, thank you for joining us. Now we need to talk a little bit about the ELM portion of the show. So e-learning management is where you need to go if you want to get credit for this course. Most of you already are aware that you have to take a certain number of courses in order to earn their badge, which needs to be done before preschool. So in our courses, the technology courses, we have ELM, and I think I may have frozen. Did I freeze? I hope I didn't freeze. I'm going to play off as I didn't freeze, okay? So I am over here in ELM. I'm going to get out of here. And so inside of ELM, it's important that you understand that how to actually submit your work. So this is a course. This is the SLSO course. And inside of the SLSO course, you can see I've already enrolled in it. But here I have Module 1, and this is how most of you got here, by launching this course. For you to turn in your work, though, a lot of people are trying to hit this view attachment, and that's not where you get your work from. You have to also, for Module 2, come over here and click this launch button. When you click the launch button, it will, I hope I didn't get timed up. No, it will ask you to make a copy of the homework document. When I click make a copy, hang on, it's loading. When I click make a copy, it's going to make my personal copy, and it will give me step-by-step directions on what I have to do to get the implementation for this course, okay? Basically, we want you to insert some screenshots from what you learned in this session. So that's available here in ELM. So again, you have to make sure you hit that launch button. And then you should be able to come and attach it to the course. So that is ELM. Please keep that in mind. Again, I'm going to try to get back to my slide deck since I was lagging there for a second. Again, you want to make sure you're enrolled in the live course. You see, it's kind of hard to see in the screenshot, but these courses have the word live in it. So what we're doing is this course taking place today on August 6th. You have to enroll in this course by Monday, because what we're going to do is we're going to turn enrollment off by Monday. You have until September 30th to complete the follow-up, but you can only enroll until Monday. So when we're done here, you're going to want to enroll in this course, and then you will make a copy of that document, which will then allow you to create your follow-up implementation. In addition to this, we have an alternate enrollment. So some of you actually enrolled in the non-live course, okay? So if it doesn't say live in your course title, you actually have to drop that course and look for the alternative enrollments and enroll in the one that says live. That's the most important thing in ELM, to know which course that you are in and make sure you're in the correct course. Again, I've talked about the implementation. And then at the end, as always, in every course, in order to finally finish it, you need to do the survey for your course completion. I want to make sure that everyone is also aware that we have thousands of people in these classes. We appreciate all of you who are doing our courses, but we right now have almost 7,000 people in 6 courses. So it is going to take quite a bit of time for us to grade all of your homework. So please be patient. We promise we're getting to it. It may take a couple of weeks for us to get to all of the homework. So it will be there. As long as you have made progress and you've submitted things, you have met the needs of preschool. The badges, from what we're hearing, they added to the website the other day. Badges will be going out sometime in January. So you do have time, but just keep in mind, we will be grading as fast as we can, and we're out there grading as many of these as we can as fast as we can. So we appreciate your patience on that. I also want to let you know that we have office hours. Right now, we're going to be doing office hours for the most part on Thursdays, unless we are presenting. And when we're presenting, we won't be able to do office hours. But so our next set of office hours is next Thursday from 10 to 11. We're still going to be discussing the possibility of moving office hours once school starts to lunchtime. So it could be either lunch and learn office hours or something like that, where you can come in and ask your questions. Office hours is a great place where you just come in and there's a group of ed tech people there. There's usually someone from SMART there, and just ask your questions. And then it's almost one-on-one. We're going to give you and answer you and show you the best ideas that we have to answer your questions. And we actually have people just come in and hang out. So they just come in to absorb and learn about what's going on and get more information. So all of that information is on the front page of our website. And so I do want to take you into the website quickly, which I showed here. I'm going to go back to the training site. So this is our training site, which is edtechtraining.palmbeachschools.org. That's the way that you get there. Nothing too complex to get there. And once you're on the main page, I want you to take note of a couple of things. The first and most important thing is the calendar right here. And I know it's a little small. Whoops, I hit the wrong window. Let's try this. Aha. Oh, now I'm going to make it way too big. This is our calendar of events of what's happening and what's coming soon. So what you can see here is how you can access all of our different trainings that are upcoming. So if you want to come to office hours, you just click on office hours, and then there's the link to join our office hours. One of the awesome things about this, though, is that you can actually click this little plus sign right here, and it will actually add our calendar of events to your Google Calendar. So then you can just see exactly what we're doing anytime all year. We're actually going to be starting live streams up beyond just these 6 sessions. They're going to starting the second or third week of school. So resources for this session are under live stream resources. And once you click on live stream resources, you're going to scroll down, and I believe it's under district applications. No, tools for creation. Under tools for creation, you have the SLSO website. And as I mentioned earlier, some of you may have been here and thinking this was more of a beginner training. On this site, we have a lot of different things. So for example, we have a beginner, SLSO, and intermediate. And then we have all kinds of sessions that have been done. So for example, Laura and Hillary did a similar session to this earlier this year. But we have all of these great ideas. And I'm telling you, there are hundreds of ideas in these sessions on how you can use SLSO in your class. And almost every single one of them also has a companion slide deck right beside it. So you can go through the slide deck in addition to watching the live stream at the same time. So it's a lot of information. There's a lot of things there, but we appreciate you coming and seeing this and visiting our site. This is going to be the most up-to-date place for any information that we have on everything that we know of as a team. So that's the EdTech support site. Again, quickly, I just want to mention that our Twitter chat is next Tuesday. We're calling it Tuesday Twitter Chats once a month. If you've never done a Twitter chat, it's a lot of fun. It's a place where you can learn about whatever the topic is. So our topic is going to be all around getting to know your students. We know that this year is going to be a different year than any other teacher in history, I believe, honestly, has faced, right? No one has really ever experienced this. You knew your students going into your emergency remote learning back in the spring. You don't know who's coming into your virtual classroom on August 31st. So you need to start building those relationships with your students and getting to know them. And I think SLSO is a great way to do that. There are great things that you can start building in SLSO, just relationship builders, getting to know your kids and activities, playing some games, keeping it lighthearted so that it's non-threatening for your kids, okay? So we're going to be talking a lot about that on Tuesday's Twitter chat and getting to know your students. So please join us. It's going to be follow just the hashtag EdTechPBChat. And that will allow you to see all the tweets. And what I love about that too is it's not just Palm Beach. We have people from all over the world that join us. So it's a lot of fun. With that, on behalf of the entire EdTech training team and the EdTech team as a whole, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. We are here for you. I know that Akia and Ryan and Laura and Hillary, they're all here for you. We know it's going to be a different year, but we want to be here, being your cheerleaders, helping you through this, and doing everything we can to make it go smoothly. So if you ever have any questions, please just ask us. We can help you. For the EdTech team, we're asking maybe if you email a couple of us at a time, because the email we're getting, the person who gets to it first will get back to you. But we will get back to you. We are here to help you. So with that, I'm going to bring Ryan and Akia back to give you kind of a last word, and then we'll sign off. Go ahead, Ryan.
All right. Well, again, thank you everyone for joining us. Again, we are here for you to, kind of work through going back to school. So please feel free to reach out to us.
Yes, and everything that John and Ryan said, please reach out to us if you need us. We're here for you. Thank you for joining us here today.